On May 29th, I was driving to my family cabin to help my 86-year-old parents clean up after a break-in. Some hoodlums had ripped off the door and spent 2 days wrecking the place. On the way, I stopped at a lookout to photograph 2 large fires that had already been burning for 2 weeks. You can see 2 columns of smoke in the distance. The closest is about 40 kilometers away, and the furthest is over 100 kilometers away. 2 days later, these fires merged into a super fire called the Shoe Fire. It burned an area the size of New Hampshire. Over the weekend, 3 more large fires started and spread rapidly due to high winds. The heavy smoke and fire danger forced me to leave our cabin. It was a good choice. 2 days later, one of the new fires moved over 100 kilometers and burnt the area surrounding our cabin. As you can see, the fires were right along the highway and were pretty intense. After driving through the blaze, I stopped at the same lookout and took some aerial footage of the fire I had just gone through. I was a little over 15 kilometers from the fire at this point. Over there is the town of Wyakwin where the fire is. I'm having to stay at an angle like this to combat the wind. It's so windy out. Oh, I don't know. Time to come back. When we came back, we saw utter devastation. Hundreds of kilometers of forests were completely gone. 14 homes and dozens of vehicles burned in a village less than a mile from our cabin. The fire left a roughly 300-meter area unburned around our cabin. I still don't know why, but it was a miracle that it didn't burn. What I'd like to do for the rest of the video is take you on 2 separate flights. One in an area of old-growth forest that did not burn, and a second flight in an area of old-growth forest that did burn just about 300 meters from my cabin. Now to do this, I'm just going to be flying a little 2-inch micro drone that has DJI O4 on board. I hope you enjoy the video and get a better sense of what a forest fire can do. Alright, so we're just popping over the cabin here, and then we're going to head down the trail towards our boat launch and into the forest. Unfortunately, my camera's at a 30-degree up tilt, so it's a little high to see things right on the ground, but I think you'll get a sense. Oh, there I am. So we're just going down the trail here. As you can see, it's fairly dense forest on all sides. You don't get to see very far into the forest on any side. There's just bush everywhere. And we're just following the trail down here. You can see why people in this area don't normally just say, hey, let's go for a walk in the forest. It's just really, really dense bush. There's lots of low plants that are close to the ground that make it very difficult to walk. And then of course there's all sorts of trees in the mid-range that just want to get you in the face and arms all the time, and so it's a fairly dense forest. And so now we're just coming back here over where the boat is, and we're going to come back up over these little alders, go towards a granite cliffside here. And you can see the whole cliffside is pretty much covered with growth. There's some nice junipers just there. And now we're heading off into a black spruce bog. And you can see it's fairly different in here. There's not so much undergrowth, although there's a very thick green layer right on the ground, and that's a mix of Labrador tea and sphagnum moss. And believe it or not, just about 2 feet under that is solid ice. It's permafrost up here, and yeah, about maybe 2 feet down it would be solid ice. For years we used this area as a refrigerator. We just dug a hole into the ground, and then whoops, did I crash there? Oh yeah, I had to pick it up. Yeah, we used to use that moss area as a refrigerator because we could dig down and we'd hit ice, so we could just keep things cool in there. So we're back here in this mixed forest here along this side. I found myself a new place to sit after I crashed and found my quad there. So just saying hello to myself. I'm just going to scoot up here on the side of the hill, go around some. Again, this is kind of mixed forest here, but we're going to drop right back down into the spruce bog. You can see the trees are fairly densely together, and they are not very big, at least in terms of diameter, but all of the trees you're looking at here are easily in excess of 100 years old. They grow very, very slowly and don't put on a lot of mass over time. Thank goodness turtle mode worked for me there. I didn't feel like walking, but it did work. And I was able to just flip over and get out. And so now we're just going to come back up and around through here. Fortunately, I do know this area very well, so if I have to walk and find my quad, I know exactly where it would be, because I've walked and hung out in this area most of my life. So we're just coming back up through this nice little past this birch tree here, and all these beautiful coniferous trees that make up this little forest. Now, as we're going to go back up here towards the cabin, unfortunately, I'm going to try to do a flip, and just as I try to do the flip, I think, where is it here? We're coming up close. Yeah, here. I get bit by a mosquito right then. I lose control of the stuff. So that wasn't very, very good flying. At any rate, here we are coming back down. I'm going to come around, and I think I'm going to try to come in for my landing here, but I'm not overly successful at it. So we'll give it a swing and see what happens. I think there's one little gap I'm trying to go through here and just don't make it. So that's where that flight ended. Sorry, what's that? You think we should go to the other side of the highway and do a flight where it was burnt? Okay, let's go. Just before flying here in the burnt area, I measured the distance from the spot to my cabin, and it was exactly 360 meters. So this was very close to where our cabin is that was burnt. And as you can see as I'm flying through here, there's very, very little undergrowth left. There's obviously no branches left on any of the trees. Except for little scraggly ones like the ones I just about ran into there. And flying up above here, you can see all the way to the ground, which is just something you don't normally see at all. It's always very dense bush and completely covered. Now you can see some of these taller trees are still standing. They're all dead. They've burnt at the base, and so their roots are killed, and they're not going to survive. In the next year or so, they'll just fall over from wind or just the roots wearing out. What was really amazing to me was these two beautiful white spruce trees here that I'm just about to go circle around. They're easily 150 years old for the both of them, and except for a little bit of burning on the roots, they completely were untouched, which is an amazing thing, because we've used these as lookout trees to get us back on the lake out there towards our cabin, because we know that they're the trees right across the highway from our cabin. Now coming down here, you can see that all of these trees that should have leaves on them, like these poplar trees here, they're mostly either all brown or leafless. And that means they're not going to make it through the winter. They won't have had enough growing season this year with the leaves in that condition to make it so that they can survive the winter. So by next year, they'll all be dead. Now here's a beautiful poplar tree that I decided, hey, why not do a trippy spin? And well, it just didn't work, and so I walked over and picked up the quad after wiping out. But here we are through another granite rock face, and you can see that it's just basically burnt right down to the rock. There is no more growth on it, and it's all basically burnt away. The little bit of green that you do see here is new growth that's happened in the 2 months since the fires came through. So it's actually a fairly quick regrowth, and all of the stuff along the ground here will be what starts first, and then slowly there will be some of the larger trees, tree species that are starting to grow back here, like some of the birch and poplar. And so they'll be the ones that come back first, and then over time, more of the coniferous trees like the spruce and the jack pine will start to grow back. But coming back through here, through this area of, of jack pine right here, you can see that it's all burnt right to the ground. All the gray on the ground is just ash from the shrubbery that used to be here but isn't anymore because it all burnt. And it's just kind of continuous all the way through this area. You can see trees have fallen and have burnt, and you can see roots on trees that have been exposed by the fire. Those trees won't survive. They'll be, if they aren't dead already, they will be certainly by next year. And so it's a fairly devastating effect that the fire has. And even though this area would be considered to have only burnt lightly, it was not burnt right to the ground. There's still lots of trees standing in the area, and nonetheless, it's pretty devastating. Thanks very much for coming along for this ride. I hope you've enjoyed it and been able to get a better appreciation of the power and force of a forest fire. Take care of yourself, and I hope to see you sometime soon.